We already know that the ice caps are melting, but have you ever thought of the stuff that's trapped in the ice that's going to thaw? What if some of that stuff isn't really dead, just dormant, waiting to come back? What would happen if we were suddenly exposed to deadly giant viruses that have been buried in the deep layers of permafrost for thousands of years, ones that we have never met before? We may find out sooner than you think. Climate change is melting permafrost soils that have been frozen for thousands of years, and as the soils melt, the ancient giant viruses that were laying dormant are springing back into action. But what makes these viruses so special, and why are they called giant viruses? Well, most common viruses are incredibly tiny and typically only have about 4 genes or so, not even enough to be considered alive. Giant viruses, on the other hand, are a totally different story. Sometimes as big as bacteria, giant viruses have much more genetic material, anywhere from hundreds to thousands of genes. And as the permafrost melts, scientists are finding them more and more frequently. In 2014, researchers in Siberia uncovered a giant virus known as Pithevirus sibiricum. A year later, scientists isolated another giant virus called Mollivirus sibiricum from the same piece of permafrost. Mollivirus sibiricum is a behemoth of a virus with more than 500 genes as compared to just 9 genes in HIV. These giant viruses were found 1,000 feet underground in 30,000-year-old permafrost. Amazingly, even after more than 30,000 years embedded in ancient permafrost, when researchers exposed amoebas in their lab to the virus, they found that the virus was still active and quickly infected the host cell. But these aren't the earliest cases of ancient viruses that were found frozen. About a decade later, scientists discovered the first mimivirus, a 1,200 gene specimen measuring twice the width of traditional viruses, buried beneath the layers of melting frost in the Russian tundra. The viruses, although invisible to the naked eye, are the biggest on Earth, larger than even many bacteria and some regular cells. Giant viruses are not only bigger in their number of genes, they are also tougher, more resistant to environmental conditions, and are harder to destroy than viruses that infect humans and multicelled animals. One might wonder, if long-buried viruses can be unearthed, what else might be capable of coming to the surface from deep layers of permafrost? Climate change is warming the Arctic and subarctic regions at more than twice the average global temperature, which means that permafrost is not so permanent anymore. What's more is that global warming does not have to directly melt permafrost to pose a threat. Human activities such as mining and oil drilling may shake up the ancient ice enough to bring potential pathogens to the surface that could spell disaster. Although there is no immediate threat from these viruses, there could be more pathogens lurking in there waiting to be released again. Let's hope, for all our sakes, that whatever we find doesn't wake up with a vengeance.